Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. These are going to be a little bit different if this is your first time here. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. This is also my first review of something. And if you're already a subscriber, this is a new playlist on my channel. I'm going to start reviewing some products at the most basic level. I'm just going to give you some pros, I'm going to give you some cons, maybe some tips with that product that has made it work for me, or if you just shouldn't buy it. So, without further ado, you all clicked on this video to learn a little bit about the iFishPro. And I'm going to start with just a simple pros cons list. On the cons side, you're gonna have just a couple of things. One of them is gonna have a big asterisk as of, I'm not sure when, a couple months ago. But we're gonna go with insulation and portability. And we'll throw in there finesse fishing, but I'm gonna put an asterisk by that as well. On the pro side, you're going to have your ease of setup and teardown. You're going to have the enjoyment you gain, and you are going to absolutely have on there flexibility. All right, so let me go in depth on a couple of those things. I'm just gonna keep this one in my hand. On the con side, the insulation. There's an asterisk by that because there's two things. One, they came out with the iFishPro 2.0. So if you see that on the box, those are coming with their own insulation in them. They are coming insulated. But, as you can see here, I just took a normal hole cover you would have for your normal tip-ups. I cut it and trimmed it to fit, and then I hot glued it in. These have been in there for a year and a half, and I've had no issues with it. It stays in the con column, even though they sell an insulated one, because that hole is so large, you're still gonna get some icing. I've never had a hole freeze over, even with just this little bit of insulation, so I don't think you'll ever have a problem with the 2.0 version freezing your hole completely, but you're gonna get some ice and some slush buildup in your holes. It's just, that hole, it lets too much air in not to have some icing issues. So just know that stays in the con column because of that, and there's no like full-on solution, just because that hole has to be that big to be able to, function properly. But that's it. Other than that, the second con is portability, bigger than a standard bucket. So you can't just drop it in a bucket and carry it out with you. They're durable, don't get me wrong. You can toss these around, and I've been just throwing these in a sled or the back of the truck or whatever, and nothing's broken on it. There's just no way. I only have two, and it can be kind of a hassle to carry them around with you, to stack them up and move. They don't stack nicely, like they kind of sit awkwardly. I haven't been able to find a good solution. I built my own and ended up breaking, and it wasn't that great anyway. And to give you some context, this is what I'm looking for in portability. I can put my 4 tip-ups on this bucket with this setup. I have my pliers, I have my mouth spreaders, and my scale all attached to this bucket. And then with that, I also have everything I need: hooks, lights, new weights, bobbers to mark your spot, all in the top here. And then on top of all of that, the dipper goes in here. So I can drill my holes, I can walk out there with this bucket and get all my tip-ups set up and ready to roll conveniently. Now, I know there's wide bottom buckets that exist, but I haven't found them at my outdoor store, at my hardware stores, anything like that. It's gonna be an online purchase, or find your own way to do it. But you could get yourself something just like this. If you had a wide bottom bucket and you could strap the poles you need for the iFishPros along here, you could get 3 of them in here, and you get every 3 poles on there. You could kind of have the same concept, but like I said, I have yet to really find one. I've just been living with tossing them in the sled. And then moving on to the second con, it's not gonna be for everybody. It's not gonna be a con for everybody. I know 100% it'll be a con for some of you walleye fishermen out there that are concerned with, the smoothness, with the standard style tip-up. This is already a mess right now. This is what happens when you're wrapping up in the cold. You don't do it nicely, which is a pro for that. We'll get there. These spool out very smoothly when they're functioning properly. A fish will have no idea he's connected to something, and that's a big deal with the walleye when they're being finicky. Northerns, they don't care. They'll rip that minnow and just take off with it, especially if they're bigger. But walleyes, they're known to drop it if they feel any tension, or if they can be very finicky. So, with that said, when these rods are releasing that line, you'll get some bounciness, some tension on that hook while they're running, just because it's the nature of a spinning reel. You know, with that line coming off that reel, you're gonna get some bounciness, especially if you have like a too big of a reel for the rod you're using. I've mitigated that as much as I can this year by finally just buying a rod setup specifically for an iFishPro. It's not recommended by them or anything. I was using too shorter rods and too bigger reels for it, and I was getting a lot of the bouncing while the line was spooling. So I finally went out and just got a 27-inch medium heavy, and I'm using the reel it came with to mitigate that bounciness you get off the spool. And we were out on Mille Lacs and we had some drops, not gonna lie, from some finicky walleye, but we also caught a couple. So, you know, you're gonna miss some if you use this setup, but I think the ones you catch and the pros on this list will be worth losing those couple of walleye. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the con list. I can't think of another con for these. I've been using them for a year and a half. That's why I sit here and speak with such confidence in what I feel is a pro or a con with these. But I've had no other problems. They never get wind tripped. I've never had a problem with them being blown over or tripped by the wind. That's it. And the functionality has never been a con. All the little pieces it comes with, I was worried about that when I bought these. The new ones, the 2.0, also come with 7 of these line. Oops. Oop. There it goes. That's exactly what I was worried about. The 2.0 comes with like 7 of these, which I've never lost one because my setups have a leader on them. So if a fish snaps my line, trip thing, I don't know the term for it, stays on my line. I don't ever lose it. I can't think of any more complaints I have with this. My biggest complaint with this is just portability. If I could find a way to easily move 4 or 5 of these together in a bucket, whatever, I wouldn't even own one of these standard style tip-ups ever again because of the pros. Now, let's get to the pros list, and I'm gonna start with the ease of setup and teardown. And I promise you, your hands are going to thank you if you switch to an iFishPro from a standard tip-up. It makes your life so much better in the evenings when you're setting up, tearing down, or even midday if it's cold and you need to reset that tip-up. Because what happens, guys? What happens when you're done catching a fish on one of these? You gotta hope that it's not tangled up on the ground while you spool this little damn thing up and try to get it back to your bobber. And when you're fishing in 30 feet of water and that fish takes it 30 feet, 40 feet, you're out there it's so cold, it's terrible. Well, guess what? When you're fishing with a rod, it's just a bobber stop in there. I don't know if you might be able to see it in there. So that fish is just spooling that line. You walk up, you close the bail, and you reel it in. When you're done catching that fish, you're here. This is where you are. You have met the hole, you reach down, you pull them up. And then to reset, all you gotta do is open that bail, pull out the line. There's no tangles to mess with. There's nothing to be bothered by, and your hands aren't in the cold dealing with that line. I'm telling you right now, if you're annoyed on cold days by tip-ups, this setup with the iFishPro will solve that problem for you. So I mean, that alone, it should be enough to be like, all right, I'm gonna go try an iFishPro. And you don't even need, a good rod. I've used some pretty bad rods for the last year and a half, and I still enjoyed it. That is the #1 pro, and it was enough convincing for me to start my stash of getting iFishPros and poles to use with it. Because at the end of the night, when you're done, you just reel it in, you hook it on the bottom, depending on how long your leader is or how big of a pole you decide to buy for this, you just hook it on the bottom, bam, you're good to go. Toss that pole to the side. And then the second pro is the enjoyment. Is much more fun to be catching that 13, 14 pound northern or 3-4 pound walleye on a jig pole than it will ever be hand over hand in the winter. I promise you, it is just more fun. And just plain and simple, because it's not as much of a pain to set up. You can get a lot more of them set up faster, and then you can reset those lines at a quicker rate, so when the fish are really biting, you can get down there really fast, get that pull back in, and go back to your jigging. So the enjoyment is it's off the scales. That's why I had to put it over here as a pro. But yeah, man, I can't begin to tell you guys how much I have enjoyed the last year and a half with these iFishPros, and how I will be absolutely buying more of these until I can replace my entire set of of tip-ups. And then finally on that pro side, you're gonna end up with what I call flexibility. And there's a few reasons I say that. One, because of the ease of use to set up and tear down these, you can move locations with your tip-ups much faster. So if you set up on a spot and you just want to set up for a little bit and then you want to move and then you want to move, you can kind of hole hop with these and it's not as much of a hindrance as it is with your standard style tip-up. And then also you have flexibility. This is caught here. Because it's up to you what rod setup you want to use and what line you want to use and what you want to go after, what you're targeting will be important. No. Oh no, it's my new hoodie. The flexibility, along with that Flexibility Pro, I'm going to say the equipment you choose to use with it. It's up to you. And that's a huge pro. If you don't like how one of your rods is reacting or being utilized within the iFishPro, you can absolutely go get a different one, put a new one in that you already have. On that specific rod, you can adjust your drag as you're fighting that fish. And so flexibility is the final pro for this product. They are $49.99, I believe, per, and that's with the 2.0 version that's got the insulation, so that's a huge positive. The price didn't increase too much because I think these are $39.99. I think for $10 more, which you're going to be paying $7 or $8 for the whole cover, I believe. You can't go wrong, and that's it. That's the pros. That's the cons. And that's my review on the iFishPro. I would absolutely, unequivocally, 1,000,000,000%, I can't begin to tell you guys how much more I enjoy ice fishing using an iFishPro setup rather than a hand-over-hand tip-up. It just makes your life so much simpler, faster, easier, and I promise you, your hands are going to thank you at the end of the day. I have no rating system yet or anything like that. Thanks for watching, I guess. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. These reviews are gonna be coming out more and more. I can't get ice fishing every day like I wish I could. So to keep some videos coming at you guys, I want to go over some equipment that I use, and I would like to just give a pros cons list on that equipment and then if I suggest it or not. That's how these videos and this style of videos for Sgtoutdoors are gonna go. And I'm just hoping that my pros cons list gives you an idea on if it's for you or not. Because I know there's a lot of products that I've wanted to use and then I go watch someone's video and there's just a deal breaker con in that list that you can't overcome that keeps me from buying that product. So anyway, I'm rambling like I always do. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you have anything you want me to review, maybe I'll go buy it and use it for a while. Put it down below in the comments. If there's any tips, tricks, or anything like that you have for the iFishPro, make sure to put that in the comments so that everyone on this channel can absolutely go check that out and see if there's something for them down there. If you have a good portability setup or something like that, go ahead and link your video down below if that's the case. If you got an awesome suggestion for that, I would be more than happy to share that information with as many people as possible. And then make sure you subscribe because we'll be going out on the lake every single weekend this year, and well, hopefully. We have a tournament this weekend coming up, and it's going to be -30 with the wind chill, so it's not going to be the most enjoyable. But the cameras will be rolling. I'll be out there fishing, and we're gonna make some magic happen. Anyway, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, see you guys on the ice.